If I could sit down with my younger self, I wouldn't talk about stock tips or chasing promotions. I'd offer just one quiet piece of advice: retire sooner. Not to run from the job, but to take back the years I didn't even know I was giving away. Until they were gone. Maybe that sounds dramatic. After all, we're raised to work hard, save diligently, and wait for the perfect moment. But the truth hit me only after I walked away. I didn't see the slow, quiet trade-offs. The birthdays missed, the joy postponed, the peace deferred, until I finally stopped. And now, looking back from the other side, the regret has never been clearer. Reason 1, time is our most precious asset. This isn't a story about early retirement dreams or exotic vacations. It's about something far more important, the time I lost without realizing it. All those years I sat in meetings, answered emails, and chased deadlines, while life quietly moved on without me. I didn't fully grasp what I was giving up until I stepped away from it all. And once I did, the truth became painfully clear. I traded time for security, and I regret how much I gave away. I know many of you are wrestling with the same question I once did. Should I retire now, or wait a little longer? I'm not here to give financial advice. I'm here to share what I learned too late. Time is the one thing you can never earn back. Not money, not status, not one more title on your resume. We live as if we'll always have another summer, another vacation, another chance to reconnect with who we are. But that's a dangerous illusion. Life doesn't wait. I had a colleague named Dennis. He worked until 70. Disciplined, frugal, and determined. His dream was simple: hit the road in an RV with his wife, see the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, Yosemite. They planned it down to the last mile. But 3 months after he retired, she had a stroke. That dream trip turned into hospital visits and therapy appointments. And within a year, Dennis was alone. He still talks about how they waited too long, how they did everything right only to be left with a single season of retirement. And sadly, his story is not rare. We convince ourselves that we can buy back time later once we've earned it. But time doesn't wait for your 401k to hit a certain number. It slips away day by day. When you retire earlier, you're not just leaving a job. You're reclaiming your life. You get to enjoy mornings that aren't rushed, phone calls that aren't squeezed between meetings, grandkids who actually remember you being there. But when you delay, out of fear, routine, or just habit, you're gambling with the most irreplaceable currency you have. I've seen both sides now, and if I could do it over again, I wouldn't wait another year. Not for money. Not for just one more promotion. Because the cost of waiting is everything you might have done with the time you never got back. Reason 2, burnout took more than I realized. Burnout doesn't always announce itself with flashing lights or a dramatic breakdown. Sometimes it creeps in quietly, disguised as irritability, sleepless nights, or that pit in your stomach every Sunday evening. For years, I thought that low-grade tension was just part of being a professional. This is the grind, I told myself. But what I didn't realize until much later was that the grind was grinding me down. It started with little things. Stiff shoulders that never quite relaxed, headaches that lingered, sleep that didn't feel like rest. My doctor warned me. Your body is waving a red flag, slow down, but I didn't listen. I kept pushing because I thought that's what responsible adults do. We endure. Looking back, I can't believe how normal I thought it was to live under that constant pressure. I wasn't living. I was just enduring day after day. The stress wasn't just in my mind. It was in my blood pressure, my posture, my heart rate. It showed up at family dinners where I was physically present but emotionally vacant. I wasn't truly there, even when I was sitting at the table. Retirement didn't fix everything overnight. The first few months felt strange. I had forgotten how to relax. My nervous system had been on high alert for so long, it didn't know how to power down. I remember sitting on my porch, coffee in hand, and feeling numb. Not because retirement was disappointing, but because I was too depleted to enjoy it. That's what burnout does. It doesn't just take your energy. It steals your capacity for joy. And that's why I envy people like Susan, my former neighbor. She retired at 58. People said she was foolish. Too early, they claimed, but she knew what she was doing. She told me, "I've saved enough. I'm not wasting my best years being miserable." Now she paints, teaches art at the community center, walks every morning, and looks 10 years younger than the rest of us. She didn't wait until her body collapsed. She stepped away before she broke. That takes courage. So if you're waking up every day with a heavy heart and dragging yourself to a job that drains you, ask yourself, what is this really costing me? Because burnout doesn't just end with a doctor's note. It ends with memories you never made, with smiles you didn't have the energy to share, with passions you set aside until they quietly faded away. Don't wait until you're too exhausted to enjoy the life you worked for. Step away before burnout takes what's still good in you. Reason 3, I missed out on family and life moments that I'll never get back. We often tell ourselves, I'm doing this for them. The long hours, the overtime, the sacrifices, we convince ourselves it's all for the family, a better future, more security. But what happens when the cost of providing that life is missing out on actually living it with them? I didn't understand that trade-off until it was far too late. There was a school recital when my daughter was about 8. I promised her I'd try to make it. I was stuck on a deadline, buried in emails and meetings. I arrived just as the crowd was leaving. She spotted me at the door and gave me a small, tired smile. "It's okay, Daddy." "Maybe next time," she said, but there wasn't a next time, not for that moment. And that's the thing, life doesn't wait. Birthdays blurred into board meetings. Holidays became background noise to spreadsheets. I missed more family dinners than I could count, always thinking, I'll make it up to them. But some things you can't make up. People grow apart. And the time you thought you could buy back, it's gone. I once met a man named Roy. He retired at 67 after a long, successful career. Promotions, accolades, the works. But when he finally stepped away, his son had already moved across the country. His grandkids barely knew his name. He told me, I thought I'd build those relationships later, but they already moved on. And the heartbreak in his voice, it never left me. We forget that being present isn't just about showing up once in a while. It's about being available, mentally, emotionally, and consistently. The missed bedtime stories, the weekend ball games, the quiet dinners where you actually ask someone how their day was. Those aren't extras, they're everything. I used to believe retirement was when I'd start making memories. But life wasn't waiting for that. It was unfolding every day, whether I showed up or not. If I could go back, I wouldn't buy my daughter a bigger birthday present. I'd just be there to light the candles. I wouldn't aim for one more zero in my savings. I'd trade it in a heartbeat to hear her laugh across the dinner table one more time. So if you're sitting there thinking your family will understand your absence now because it's for their future, ask yourself, what future are you building if you're not in it? Reason 4, I lost touch with my passions. You know what creeps up slowly over the years? The feeling of someday. Someday I'll pick up the guitar again. Someday I'll start that garden. Someday I'll write that book or build that thing or finally paint just for the joy of it. But here's what nobody tells you when you're grinding through deadlines and performance reviews. Someday quietly turns into never. For me, it was woodworking. I loved it in my 20s. Building, carving, working with my hands. I even kept a beautiful set of tools in the garage, thinking one day I'd dust them off. But I waited too long. By the time I finally retired, arthritis had found its way into my fingers. My grip wasn't the same. The tools that once felt like an extension of myself now just reminded me of what I'd let slip away. And it wasn't just the craft, it was who I was when I did it. Focused, peaceful, alive. You see, the problem isn't just losing time, it's losing the part of yourself that used to feel joy without permission. Work has a way of crowding out your identity. You become what you do. And before you know it, your passions are pushed into a dusty corner, waiting for a version of you that may never come back. I met a woman named Carla who used to work in marketing. Left the job at 59. Everyone thought she was being reckless. But she had one dream, to open a small flower shop. Nothing fancy. Just a cozy corner full of color and fragrance. Today, she wakes up every morning excited to unlock the door to that little shop. And when she talks about arranging flowers, her face lights up like someone who found herself again. That's what retiring early gave her. Not just time, but quality time. Time when your body still moves with ease, when your energy hasn't been depleted, when your dreams aren't running on fumes. We often treat our passions like luxuries, as if they need to earn their keep. But passion isn't a paycheck. It's what reminds you that you're more than a worker. You're a person with curiosity, creativity, and soul. If there's something you've been saving for later, ask yourself, is later actually coming? Or is it slipping through your fingers while you stare at a screen wishing you were somewhere else? Don't wait until your hands can't hold the brush or your knees won't carry you up the hill. Give yourself back the gift of wonder. Not when you retire perfectly, when you can still feel it fully. Reason 5. I didn't realize how fast my health would decline. I used to believe that once I retired, I'd finally have the time and energy to get healthy again, that I'd travel, hike, play tennis, maybe even bike along the coast. I imagined this golden chapter filled with freedom and vitality, but reality had its own timeline. The wear and tear started showing earlier than I expected. In my early 60s, I began noticing how winded I got just climbing a flight of stairs. My knees ached, my energy dipped. I chalked it up to stress or poor sleep, assuming I'd bounce back once work was out of the way. But by the time I actually retired, I realized I'd crossed an invisible threshold. My body wasn't just tired, it had changed. And unlike money or work, health isn't something you can just earn back once it's gone. What really struck me was seeing peers who had retired earlier, like Thomas and Angela. They left work at 60 and moved to a quiet town by the mountains. Now, they walk every morning, cook fresh meals, and swim twice a week. Their faces glow with energy I no longer recognize in mine. Angela once told me, we wanted to retire before our bodies forced us to. And that stayed with me, because so many of us push through, telling ourselves we'll rest later. But stress, poor sleep, fast food lunches, skipped workouts, those things accumulate, slowly, quietly, until one day you realize your best years for healing have already passed. I wish someone had told me that work doesn't just steal time. It steals strength. That years of sitting under fluorescent lights, eating dinner at 9 p.m., and staring at screens would slowly chip away at the vitality I was counting on in retirement. I thought I was buying myself security by working longer. What I didn't see was that I was trading health for habit. If I could do it over, I'd walk away sooner. Not just to stop working, but to start caring for myself while there was still time to rebuild. I would have used my early 60s to walk more, sleep better, cook real food, breathe deeply. Because here's the truth. The window to recover your health is shorter than you think. Retirement doesn't restore energy. It reveals what's left. So if you're still grinding away, waiting for the right time to rest, ask yourself, will my body be ready when I am? Don't just plan for the money you'll need. Plan for the strength you'll want. Because when your legs start to tire and your mornings feel heavy, no amount in your savings account will give you back the chance to feel truly alive in your own skin. Reason 6. Financial fear kept me stuck longer than necessary. I didn't delay retirement because I loved my job. I delayed it because I was afraid. Afraid I'd run out of money, afraid I hadn't saved enough. Afraid that one wrong move would unravel everything I'd worked for. That fear had a voice. It whispered in my ear every time I considered stepping away. What if you live longer than your savings? What if there's a health emergency? Or what if the market crashes next year? And so I kept working, clinging to spreadsheets, obsessing over my portfolio, checking my accounts like they were life support monitors. I told myself I just needed a little more, one more year, one more raise. But here's what I couldn't see back then. That fear had become a cage. I was already financially ready, but mentally stuck. The truth is, no amount ever feels like enough. There's always a storm you can imagine. And while you brace yourself for the worst, you're quietly sacrificing the best years of your life. Looking back, I realize I wasn't being cautious. I was being paralyzed. I remember meeting Jorge, a man who retired at 62. He wasn't rich by any means, but he was wise. He sold his big house, moved into a modest home in a peaceful town, and restructured his lifestyle to match his values. He told me something I'll never forget. I realized I didn't need more, I just needed enough. And there it was, the freedom I had postponed, Jorge had seized. Not because he had more, but because he needed less. That's the part I missed. I thought peace of mind came from numbers, but in truth it comes from clarity, from knowing what truly matters, from living a life aligned with who you are, not just what you've saved. I regret how long I let that fear control me. I regret how many sunsets I watched from an office window, thinking I was being responsible when I was really just being afraid. If you're like I was. Running the numbers over and over, still feeling unsure. I want to ask you, what are you really waiting for? If your plan supports the life you want, even a modest one, don't let fear keep you grinding away at the expense of your joy. Because money is replaceable, time is not. I gave up precious years of vibrant health, spontaneous travel, slow mornings, just to pad a retirement account that was already enough. And if I could trade that extra money for one more hike with strong legs, one more night of deep sleep, one more lazy afternoon with nothing on the calendar, I would. We save so we can live. Don't let fear convince you to wait yourself out of life. Reason 7, you're not promised tomorrow, we all say it. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed, but most of us don't feel it until it's too late. We treat life like it comes with a built-in cushion of time, but it doesn't. I learned that the hard way. My friend Harold and I used to talk about retirement like it was the big reward at the end of the race. He had it all planned out. Retire at 70, buy a sailboat, cruise the Florida coastline with his wife, live life on their terms. And he did everything right. He saved, prepared, even picked the exact marina. He retired at 69, bought the boat. 2 months later, he died in his sleep from a heart attack. He never touched the water. His wife later sold the sailboat, the one they dreamed about for decades. She said, "We waited our whole life for that dream, and then it vanished." That moment gutted me. We think we have time. We think we can postpone joy. That will travel someday. Take up painting next year. Spend more time with family after this quarter. But life doesn't honor our plans. I knew another neighbor, Grace, brilliant woman, sharp as ever at 72. Said she'd retire after just one more year to pad her savings. That year came, and so did her diagnosis, cancer. Her retirement became a rotation of treatments, not travels. During one quiet afternoon, she said, "I should have gone to Paris when I could walk 10 blocks without needing to sit down." Those words haunt me. These aren't isolated stories, they're everywhere. All around us are people who waited too long. People who thought they had more time. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you because someone needs to say it out loud. You might be trading your most vibrant years for a version of safety that may never arrive. You don't always get a warning. Sometimes the dreams you shelve for later never get taken down again. And here's the cruel twist. Retirement isn't a guarantee. Health isn't a guarantee. Even waking up tomorrow isn't promised. The best reason to retire may not be a number in your bank account or a target age on your calendar. It may simply be this: you can. Not because everything's lined up perfectly, not because the world is predictable, but because waiting might cost you the one thing you can't buy back: time. So if you're sitting there telling yourself you'll start living after one more year, ask yourself, what if that year never comes? You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to recognize that the life you want might already be calling. Don't wait so long that all you have left is regret and a dream that's grown too heavy to carry. My answer is always the same. The moment I first wondered if I should, when I started dreading winter commutes, when meetings felt meaningless, when I had just enough to live simply, but fully, when I realized I was craving purpose, not productivity. That hesitation, that internal whisper, that was the moment, but I ignored it. I told myself to be smart, to wait until everything was lined up perfectly. And in doing so, I postponed life. We're taught to delay joy. When I retire, I'll travel. When I retire, I'll spend time with family. When I retire, I'll finally breathe. But the longer you delay the start, the shorter the journey becomes. Don't misunderstand me. Retirement won't solve every problem. It won't heal old wounds or fix loneliness overnight. But it gives you room to reconnect, to repair, to rediscover what lights you up. And most importantly, it gives you your life back. I know some of you might be thinking, that's easy to say when you're already retired. Believe me, I understand. I'm not telling you to be reckless or throw caution to the wind. But I am telling you, don't let fear be the reason you stay stuck. Start asking the harder question. Not just, how much do I have? But what am I sacrificing by staying? When was the last time you spent a whole day in peace? When did you last say yes without consulting a calendar? When did you feel truly free? Freedom isn't just financial. It's waking up without dread. It's knowing your hours are finally yours. So here's what I want to leave you with. Don't wait for perfect. Don't wait for someday. Retire as soon as your heart tells you it's time. The life you've been postponing, it's right here, and it's been waiting for you.